just passing through. In a quiet corner of the mountains, where even the wind dared only to whisper, lived an old monk named Etsu. His wooden hut, surrounded by cherry trees, seemed to float outside of time, as if the world had forgotten it existed. Each morning, upon opening his eyes, Etsu would softly repeat a single phrase, "We're just passing through." No one truly knew what he meant. Some saw it as a warning, others as a blessing. But for Etsu, it was a truth as simple as the murmur of a stream or the drifting of a cloud. Etsu never rushed. He walked barefoot among the fallen leaves, took a deep breath before speaking, and smiled at the birds as if they were old friends. He had learned that the world didn't need to be fully understood, only breathed in. One day, as he swept the path in front of his hut, a young girl approached. Her name was Hana, and she had climbed up alone from the village below, carrying a question that wouldn't let her sleep. "Why does everything have to change, Master?" she asked, her eyes wide like the moon. Etsu let the silence answer first. Then, he offered her a cup of tea and invited her to sit beside the fire. "Everything changes, little one, because nothing belongs to us. Not the seasons, not our bodies, not even our thoughts. Like the cherry blossoms, we are here just for a moment, and then we move on." Hana looked at him, puzzled, but said nothing. The fire crackled gently, and the scent of tea filled the room like an invisible caress. "But what if I don't want something to change?" she whispered at last. Etsu smiled, gazing at the shadows dancing on the walls. "Then hold it with all your heart, and when the time comes, let it go with the same tenderness. Because Hana, we're just passing through." The girl remained silent for a long while, as if trying to catch the monk's words before the wind could carry them away. Outside, the afternoon was slowly yielding to twilight, and the cherry trees were shedding their petals like falling dreams. "What if I forget to let go, Master?" Hana whispered, a hint of sadness in her voice. Etsu cupped his bowl of tea in his hands and gazed into it, as if reading a poem written in the rising steam. Sometimes, forgetting is also part of the path. There is no fault in holding on with love. What matters is remembering that everything that comes will one day go. Hana lowered her eyes. Her heart didn't fully understand yet, but there was a strange peace in his words, like a soft lullaby beneath a rising moon. "So, I shouldn't be afraid of losing?" "Don't fear loss, little one," Etsu replied. "Fear only not having lived with an open heart while it was with you." The last light of day slipped between the branches. The fire crackled slowly, and their breaths grew more gentle, as if the entire world was preparing to fall asleep too. Etsu closed his eyes for a moment and said, "When you understand we're just passing through, you stop running. You walk more slowly. You're more grateful, and every moment becomes sacred." Hana looked at him with new eyes. The fear was still there, yes, but now wrapped in a soft blanket of understanding. That night, Hana stayed in the master's cabin. The wind brushed softly against the wooden walls, and the distant call of an owl marked the rhythm of the night. On a mat beside the fire, the girl rested, wrapped in a blanket woven with threads of time. Before closing her eyes, her thoughts wandered like leaves drifting down a river. She thought of her mother, her old dog, the flower that had withered in her garden. Everything she had loved now seemed more fragile, more fleeting, and somehow more radiant. Etsu, seated in lotus position by the window, gazed at the moon. He did not speak, nor move a single muscle, yet his presence filled the room with the calm of someone who has made peace with everything. "Master," Hana said softly, her eyes still open, "have you ever wanted to hold on to something forever?" Etsu didn't answer right away. Only the whisper of crickets filled the space between them. Finally, in a voice that seemed to rise from the depths of his chest, he replied, Yes, many times. I wanted to keep a sunrise, the smell of freshly cooked rice, a smile, but all of it passed. And then I understood when I held on, it hurt. But when I honored it, even as it left, it remained within me. Hana nodded, not fully understanding, but feeling the words settle in her heart like a song she already knew. And how do you honor what's leaving? Etsu turned to look at her, and with infinite gentleness said, by being present, by giving thanks, by letting go without closing your eyes. The girl then closed hers, not out of fear, but from rest. And in that surrender, something within her began to understand. The night moved with gentle steps, as if careful not to wake anyone. Outside, the trees whispered ancient secrets, and the moon drifted slowly across the sky, watching over the world with tenderness. Hana slept deeply, and in her dreams, a garden appeared. She walked barefoot across the warm grass, surrounded by butterflies and clouds floating just above the ground. Each flower she reached for dissolved into light at her touch. And yet, she felt no sadness, only a quiet sense of wonder. From afar, Master Etsu watched her, seated beneath a tree in that same dreamlike garden. When Hana approached, he smiled and said, "This is the place where the things we've loved and released come to rest. But if they're gone, how can I see them?" she asked. "Because they're not truly gone," Etsu replied calmly. "They've only changed form. Now they live within you, like fragrance lives in the air even after the flower has faded." Hana woke at dawn, soft rays of sunlight brushing her face. She sat up slowly, still wrapped in the warmth of her dream, and saw the master preparing breakfast with unhurried grace. "Master, I dreamed of a garden. And was it beautiful?" "Very." Etsu nodded, his eyes twinkling with quiet understanding. "That garden is real, Hana. Every time you let go with love, a new flower grows there." The girl said nothing more. She simply took a spoonful of the steaming rice before her, and for the first time, she felt that every flavor had meaning, as if the simple act of being alive was, in itself, a gift. After breakfast, Hana stepped onto the narrow path that wound around the cabin. The stones were still damp with dew, and the cherry trees, silent and still, let their petals fall, as if letting go was their way of loving. Etsu walked behind her, his hands gently clasped behind his back. There was no hurry, no one was waiting, and that made each step feel like it held the weight of eternity. "Master, may I stay with you?" Hana asked, her gaze drifting toward the misty horizon. Etsu looked at her with tenderness and replied in a soft voice, "You may stay for as long as life brings you here. But remember, even that will be just a step." The girl lowered her head, feeling the truth behind his words. There was no forever, but there was now. And that now, if lived fully, was more than enough. "And you, Master? Have you ever been afraid to leave?" Etsu smiled. He bent down to pick up a fallen leaf and held it in front of her. "This leaf doesn't fall out of sadness. It falls because it is time. And when it touches the earth, it doesn't vanish. It transforms. It gives life to something else." "Then you won't disappear either?" "No," Etsu replied. "No one truly does. Those who live with truth leave gentle footprints that even the wind cannot erase." The sun began to rise higher in the sky, bathing the forest in golden light. Hana closed her eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and felt something within her, deep and quiet, begin to bloom. The days passed with the calm of a stream with no destination. Hana and Etsu shared silence the way others share words. Sometimes they fetched water from the spring, other times they cooked rice or swept fallen leaves. Nothing ever felt urgent, and yet everything carried deep meaning. One afternoon, as the sky turned shades of orange and lilac, Hana found a smooth stone by the river. She held it in her hands, feeling its weight, its rounded shape, its warmth from the sun. "How long do you think it's been here?" she asked, showing it to the master. Etsu studied it carefully. Perhaps centuries, or just a moment. For the stone, time doesn't matter, only being. Hana traced its surface with her fingers, thoughtful. "And us? Are we like the stone?" The master gently shook his head. "No, Hana. We are like the river. We never stop moving. Who you are today, you won't be tomorrow. And who you are tomorrow will also pass. Is that a bad thing? No, it's a beautiful thing. Because once you understand you are just passing through, you stop fearing change and begin to dance with it." The river whispered at their feet, as if nodding in agreement. Hana remained quiet for a long time, watching the water continue on its way, clinging to nothing, never stopping. And for the first time, she understood. She didn't have to resist the current, only trust it. That night, before going to sleep, Hana stepped out to the threshold of the cabin. The sky was clear, studded with stars, and the moon hung silently, like a paper lantern in the vast sky. Master Etsu was seated on a straw mat, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Hana sat beside him without saying a word. The silence was so deep, one could almost hear the gentle heartbeat of the world. "Master," she said softly, "if everything passes, if nothing stays, then what's the point of loving?" Etsu opened his eyes slowly. His gaze was not an answer, it was a mirror. "Precisely because it passes, Hana. Because love is not possession, but a gift we give while we're here. To love something you cannot keep is the purest way to love." The master's words floated in the air like incense, wrapping everything in a sweetness too soft to touch. Hana didn't reply, but something inside her loosened, like an invisible thread coming undone. "And when I'm no longer here," she continued in a whisper, "will you remember this moment?" Etsu nodded. "I won't remember the words or the exact day, but I will remember the peace on your face and the heartbeat of this moment. What we live with presence is never lost. It becomes a seed." Then Hana rested her head on the master's shoulder, and the two of them gazed at the sky in silence, needing no more questions. They were simply there, simply passing through, and that was perfect. At dawn, the blackbird's song announced the return of the day. Mist danced among the trees, as if the earth itself were breathing dreams. Hana awoke slowly, wrapped in the peace of someone who has understood something, without needing to understand everything. Master Etsu was already outside, sweeping leaves from the path with his usual calm. When he saw her step out, he offered her a quiet smile, saying nothing. Yet somehow, he seemed to know it would be their last day together. Hana walked up to him and took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. "Today, I'll return to my village," she said softly. Etsu nodded, neither surprised nor saddened. "The path continues," he replied, "and you are ready." She lowered her gaze for a moment, trying to hold the scene in her heart. The scent of the forest, the soft scrape of the broom on stone, and the master's gaze, ancient, steady, and kind. "Thank you, master. I won't forget what I felt here." Etsu placed a warm, steady hand on her shoulder. "There's no need to remember. Just live with awareness. Every step, every laugh, every tear. All of it is part of your walk. You are not here to hold on, Hana. You are here to bloom, and then move on." Hana nodded. She was no longer just a child. Something within her had changed. Like water that finally understands its destiny is to reach the sea. And so, without drama or long goodbyes, she left the same way she had come. The wind caressed her face, and the world itself seemed to whisper in her ear, "Don't hold on. We are only passing through. And for the first time, that phrase didn't hurt. It was comfort. It was a gentle truth. It was the beginning of everything.